Here's the question. Is bird flu the next pandemic, or is it fungus? We are being warned by the World Health Organization about both. So, not to make light of either things. We're not trying to do that. But given that so many of us felt like we didn't pay enough attention to what they were doing and then COVID hit us like a ton of bricks, we're watching now to what they're warning us so that we maybe see the writing on the wall. We're watching closer. So here is the World Health Organization's Dr. Tedros recently warning us about bird flu and why it is becoming increasingly serious.
Over the past few weeks, there have been several reports of mammals, including minks, otters, foxes, and sea lions, having been infected with H5N1 avian influenza. H5N1 has spread widely in wild birds and poultry for 25 years, but the recent spillover to mammals needs to be monitored closely. For the moment, WHO assesses the risk to humans as low. Since H5N1 first emerged in 1996, we have only seen rare and non-sustained transmission of H5N1 to and between humans. But we cannot assume that will remain the case, and we must prepare for any change in the status quo. As always, people are advised not to touch or collect dead or sick wild animals, but to report them to the local authorities. WHO is working with national authorities and partners to monitor the situation closely and to study cases of H5N1 infection in humans when they occur. WHO's Global Laboratory Network, the Global Influenza Surveillance and Response System, identifies and monitors strains of circulating influenza viruses and provides advice to countries on their risk to human health and available treatment or control measures. WHO recommends countries strengthen surveillance in settings where humans and farmed or wild animals interact. WHO is also continuing to engage with manufacturers to make sure that, if needed, supplies of vaccines and antivirals would be available for global use.
Okay, vaccines and antivirals, you say, are
and we've already
available.
mobilized. We said at the outset, I just want to be clear, you said, we're not judging, or we're not, how did you phrase it?
I said we're not minimizing.
We're not minimizing. But when you think about what they told us about COVID at the beginning and how they had all of these things in place ahead of time, and how the World Health Organization, one of the biggest funders is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yes.
Right. So when you have all of these people who are actively pumping money into the system, then going out and creating vaccines where they can make record profits and billions of dollars off of said vaccines, I mean, call me crazy, but this is all part of the plan.
Right. And it sounds too familiar of a trope, as in, like, why are you even trying this? Spillover from animals, you say? Right. Studying vaccination in humans now, you say, where, a gain of function, perhaps? Where have we heard this before? Right. It is this mammal-to-mammal transmission that they're saying is concerning. And the New York Times jumped right in with 2 feet as soon as this came out, saying, yes, we must act with urgency. Oh, and yes, vaccines. Here's the New York Times over the weekend, their coverage of the H5N1, saying the world needs to act now before H5N1 has any chance of becoming a devastating pandemic. That this is the time. And in fact, this is because the new strain of bird flu, according to the WHO, has been shown to be fatal in 56% of cases that were studied between December 23rd and January 5th of this year. Here is that data. They lay out cases of bird flu in these 4 countries, mostly Asian countries. And you see the C here, and then the D is death. And so, quite a few in the first 2003 to 2009 range, and then virtually none in 2022, but there's 1 in China to the far right, 1 case, 1 death. That's a 100% death rate, but 1 case does not a pandemic make. And so then when we break it down a little bit more, here's how they explain this fatality rate. They said there was a total of 240 cases of human infection, which with avian influenza A had been reported from 4 countries within the Western Pacific region since January 2003. Of these cases, 135 were fatal, resulting in a case fatality rate of 56%. The last case was reported from China with an onset date of September 22nd, 2022, and this person died a month later in October of 2022. This is the first case of avian influenza reported from China since 2015. No word on how China's going to take that, given they just lifted lockdown measures for COVID. Now, if that's true, obviously it would be a much higher fatality rate than COVID, which we currently cannot agree upon. Then again, we were initially told that COVID had a much higher fatality rate than it did. So can we bank on this 56% number? I don't know. Dr. Tedros mentions that we've had bird flu as a concern for over 25 years. In fact, in 2009, when the media was covering a bird flu outbreak, Dr. Fauci gave this advice. Listen.
The other thing is to avoid, particularly when there's flu in the community, avoid places where there are people who are sick and coughing and it's a crowded place. Now, that's difficult to do. You can't isolate yourself from the rest of the world for the whole flu season, but use some good judgment in that.
Okay, good judgment.
So you can't isolate yourself.
We can or cannot?
Cannot.
You cannot isolate ourselves.
You cannot.
We can't.
He said we cannot.
We cannot isolate ourselves. We can't, go into what some might call lockdown, right? And try to isolate ourselves.
And
from
he
this.
is science. So
Right.
Yeah.
That is, he was born science.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, do we know when he became science? Was he science then, or did he become science later?
He's omnipotent, so he was born science. He was born science. He was imbued with science, and yeah. So when he speaks, we should all listen.
Okay. So that's what we need to know about bird flu right now. Those are strong warnings coming out of the WHO, but they are also issuing strong warnings about fungus. This is something we reported in the newsletter this morning because it's interesting that the mainstream media is picking up on it and starting to tell us that fungus is an issue.
It's among us.
There's fungus among us. And they are covering it. I guess there's a show called Last of Us. Do you know this?
Yeah.
Where there's a fungus.
I haven't heard. I don't know isn't it a video game?
yeah, it is a video game, but
Yes,
it's
it was
so good. I
originally a
started
video
watching
game.
it last night. I'm like hooked.
Okay, I gotta watch it. This is my next on my list.
It's so good.
But should I play the video game first?
Don't.
I only played a little bit of the game. I would say you don't have to.
Okay,
Either way,
separate.
Good.
Okay, but I want to.
Yeah.
So I guess the premise is, and this is not going to give anything away because I have not seen it, is that it's a fungus that's spreading through humanity like an apocalypse, right, boys? Yes, not you. 'Cause you
Okay, I
haven't
don't
seen
know.
Correct.
Yes.
it. Okay. All right. So that's sort of how they are like, ooh, this is real. Life can be stranger than fiction. The World Health Organization says that fungus is an increasing threat and killed an estimated 1.5 million people last year. And in fact, just last October, they released their first ever list of health-threatening fungi. And they say these are the strains we will be watching. We're going to keep an eye on these, and we're going to rank them regularly now. Now, of course, humans and fungi normally coexist just fine. Most fungi, like athlete's foot or dandruff, are all fungi. Did you know that?
Things I'm totally unfamiliar with.
Okay.
What is this dandruff you speak of? It's funny, like in high school, like when you're, a young boy, you're in the gym all the time,
Yeah.
you're playing water polo, you're on the swim team, you're like that's a normal thing. You get the athlete's foot, whatever, you get it, you get rid of that.
I suppose.
And then you get like dandruff when you're like, what? Because you're always you're always in the pool. You're always, I don't know what. And then I was an adult. Like I haven't had athlete's foot since I was like 16 or dandruff since I was like 16.
So this is something that teenagers deal with, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know.
No, there was a guy, and this was an older gentleman, probably in his close to his 50s or whatever. And I rode in his car with a group of people, and he had like dandruff so bad that it was like flying back and hitting me in the face.
Oh my God.
As he was driving. It was that bad, and I was like,
You
please
need an
do something
umbrella.
about it. Like his whole car was covered with dandruff.
Are you sure it wasn't like cheese puffs? Like he's just up there eating a bag of cheese puffs.
Hey, I wish it would have been. Like
Right.
then I would have kept my mouth open. But I'm sitting there like, wishing I had a mask of some kind. It was disgusting.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
I know.
You guys need to stop.
The WHO needs to go after this. Dandruff.
No,
That's the real.
those are benign fungi.
Okay.
And so is thrush, which sometimes you nursing moms get in their boobies.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell stories like you guys just did.
Okay, good.
About nursing and boobies. Yeah, I'm not. So scientists.
Yours would be hotter than ours. On a scale of more entertaining, boobies or white dandruff cheese puffs
On a
flying
scale
back in
of
David's face.
some to none.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take the story on thrush, Alex, for 200.
No, I did not have thrush.
Okay.
Remember that time? It turned out I had a virus, but was not that. Okay. So we're going to talk. We were talking about normal fungus among us. Some scientists are saying now, though, that climate change could be making this problem worse. Here is a study from just last month where scientists showed that warmer environments may promote the growth of fungi. But there may be a vaccine for this, you guys. Don't worry. Scientists at the University of Georgia say they have a vaccine that can protect against a variety of dangerous fungi, and they have successfully tested it on animals and are hoping to start human trials soon. Now, of course, fungi are organisms that seek organic matter for food, and you, fellow human, are food or can be, such as these infections we just talked about, the sort of normal dandruff type thing. Again, this shows where the World Health Organization is putting their time and effort and money and vaccine trials. So will it be fungus? Or will it be bird flu? Will it be something altogether different? Again, I'm not trying to minimize any of these threats. I'm sure a fungus in your body, especially for people who are undergoing, for instance, cancer treatments, and their body stops being able to fight off normal fungus and it gets infected. That sounds terrifying. But given that many of us, myself included, didn't seem to pay enough attention to COVID until it was too late, we just don't want to make that mistake again. And if the powers that be, emphasis on powers, right, are issuing warnings like this, then it's up to us to listen with a critical ear.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So there's the new World Health Organization alert about the next pandemic. Are you guys ready? And it'll be interesting to see which biopharmaceutical companies are the ones that get to reap the benefits of this.
Yeah.
The ones that are.
Well, what really pisses me off the most about all of this is the fact that the CDC and the FDA have been co-opted by these companies. So we don't even have a watchdog anymore for us. So we're basically, it's like between us and the pharmaceutical companies now, there's no middleman anymore because they're so complicit with what they're doing and helping them to accomplish it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.